Hey witches. Alright y'all. I'm making this video in response to some questions, or to a question that I've been getting from a lot of mostly beginners and newbies to witchcraft. They keep asking me about do you have to have a god or a goddess? Or do you have to have a matron goddess or a patron god? Do you have to have a deity when you start down this path? And very simply, the answer is no, you do not. However, it is, or it will be beneficial to have one. So that is the topic of this video, y'all, is about deities and kind of just giving information about them and why they're good to have on your path. So first of all, I do want to say also I'm going to be talking about offerings as well. So this video is not just for beginners. There's also going to be some points in here in this video that are probably going to be helpful to even people who already work with deities. So it's not just for the beginners. Okay, so deities. When it comes to deities, to gods and goddesses, or even to spirits, it doesn't have to just be a god or a goddess. It could just be a spirit that you're working with in a close relationship. So when it comes to these beings, it's really helpful to have them or to be working with them because they will lend their power to you and to the workings that you're doing, to your spells, to your rituals. They will lend their power to you. Now, for someone who is advanced with witchcraft and stuff like that, they might already have a lot of personal power. So a deity wouldn't really be a necessity, or even for a beginner, a deity is not a necessity. But especially in the case of beginners, they might not have a lot of personal power within themselves built up. So it would be very helpful if they did work with a deity or a spirit that would lend their power to the witch. And now with someone who's advanced and has a lot of personal power, there might be areas of the craft that they specialize in and that they have more power in general towards a certain type of magic or something like that. Even to that type of witch, or that level of witch, a deity would still be helpful, because usually deities specialize over their own areas of influence. So it's good. It would be good, say that if an advanced witch was good with binding magic, they're very powerful at that. And then say that this witch wanted to do like a love spell or something, it would be beneficial if that witch called on a god or a goddess of love and worked with a god or a goddess of love specifically, and that they use the power of that deity for that spell, for that love spell. So it's not just something for beginners. Like I said, you don't need to work with the deity. If you're a beginner, if you're advanced, whatever, you can live your entire life as a witch without ever working with a god or a goddess or with any spirits. However, they are helpful. Another thing too is that when you do work with the deity, if you do choose a matron or a patron deity, they will not only lend their power to you during rituals and spells and other workings, they will also act as a protector to you in that way. They'll be protective of you. So, for instance, if you do not do a protection spell or anything, or any type of protection magic, for whatever reason, you just don't do it for a while or something, and something comes your way, something bad, the deities that you've been working with will protect you without you really even having to know. They'll just protect you. Another thing is they will guide you on your path. So basically, when you work with a deity, they will kind of speed up your spiritual progress. So that's another major reason why they're so beneficial, is that they will speed up your spiritual progress. They will speed up how much power you're able to gain just within yourself, not just by working with them and their power, but they will also help you to increase your own power. Let's see. There's just a lot of things that they will do for you that you would not have if you just didn't work with a god or a goddess. If you just did witchcraft and you studied it and learned it on your own, it just wouldn't go as quickly as if you did have a deity guiding you, helping you, protecting you, and all that. So, to answer that question that's been posed to me a lot, do you have to have a deity? No, you do not have to have one, but at the same time, it is very good and helpful to have one. So, I do recommend that you do find what deities are compatible with you and which ones resonate with you, and definitely work with them, if it's just my suggestion and my recommendation. But no, you do not have to have one. Okay, so how do you work with deities? I'm going to move on to the next point. How do you work with deities? Okay, this is kind of a complex thing. Definitely the first step to working with a deity or a god or a goddess is that you need to learn about them. It's going to be the first step. You need to learn about that god or goddess. So that means reading about them, reading their myths, their stories from antiquity, but also talking about these deities with witches who already have worked with them, and kind of getting their experience and their knowledge of working with those deities. It would be very helpful to you if you would do that. If you would find some place that you can connect with other witches who work with the deities that you're interested in, or that you feel an affinity with. So that's the first step. Just learn about that deity. Basically try to learn as much as you can. The next step really is you're going to want to set up an altar to that deity, which if you already have an altar, just for your craft or whatever, you can just incorporate an image of that deity, a sculpture, or even just a candle with their name written on it. Basically anything that you use to represent that deity, you will incorporate that onto an altar, and you will dedicate the altar to that deity. Which I'm not going to tell y'all what rituals or whatever, how to do it, because as I always say, it's best to create your own rituals. But there are key things you need to include, like I said, like the image or some object or something that is representative of the deity. You might want to also include things that are sacred to that deity, different colors, different types of herbs and stuff that are traditionally associated and sacred to that deity. You'll want to include those on the altar. Things like that, which really is going to be specific to whichever deity you're choosing. So that's once again why I'm not going to tell you how to do it, because you really need to do the research on your own as part of that first initial step, and decide what all you're going to be using on your altar. It does not have to be a permanent altar. You can set up temporary altars. A lot of pagans have to keep their practice secret. A lot of witches have to keep their altars hidden for whatever reasons. So it can be temporary altars that you only bring out when you're doing workings, and then you put it away. So that's the first two steps. Definitely learn as much as you can, get an altar set up to it, to the deity. You're going to want to really, with the next step, is you're going to want to start building a relationship with the god or the goddess, or the spirit even. So how you do that is really you're just going to start to call on that god or goddess, on that spirit, pretty much every time that you do anything to do with magic. You're going to want to invite that god or goddess or that spirit to your ritual area every time that you do magic or ritual. This is just it's like a process, you guys. It's not going to happen overnight that you're just close with this deity, but it is gonna happen if you do like how I'm saying. So if you just invite them every time, you're gonna want to pray to this deity, to this god or goddess, daily. Begin to pray to it, and you can do that however you want. You can do it with like elaborate poetic prayers, or you can just do it like how I'm talking to you guys now, where you just talk to the deity. But the main point is that you are initiating communication with that deity, and you're making it into a regular thing that you're just always talking to it daily. Now the next thing that you need to do is you need to start giving the deity offerings. This is going to be a major step that you do not want to skip, and a lot of witches that I have talked to for some reason don't do this, and I don't know if it's just because they don't know, or that if they just don't understand why give offerings and what's the necessity of that. So this was a major point I wanted to cover in this video, is the importance of giving offerings to your deity. Okay, so why give an offering? Okay. When you give an offering to a god or a goddess, you are essentially feeding it. You're feeding it energy. And this can be in the form of food offerings, drink offerings, flowers, it could be candles, incense, crystals, jewelry, any object really, whatever it is. You can offer anything to a spirit. You can offer anything to a deity. And what this is going to do, you guys, is it's going to, whatever energy is contained in that offering is going to be given to the deity, and it's going to really draw the deity's attention to you, and also the deity's presence to you. Because think about it, guys. If you are a spiritual being, invisible to the physical realms, and none of these people are acknowledging you, no one even knows you even exist, or even acts like you do, and suddenly here comes this witch that's praying to you daily, talking to you daily, giving you things, giving you energy, and you're going to start to pay more attention to that witch or to that person. So this is essentially what you're doing when you're giving offerings to a god or a goddess. You are acknowledging their presence. You're acknowledging their existence. And when it comes to the offerings, it's like taking it up a notch from just praying to the deity, where you're just acknowledging them verbally or emotionally. But when you're giving them offerings, you're acknowledging them in a much more physical way, that you're giving them energy and you're giving them these things, and they will begin to pay more attention to you, and they will begin to kind of hang around you and linger around you more often, the more that you give to them. So that is why you give offerings to gods and goddesses and to spirits. Now, if you guys do this already, you'll probably notice that the deities, the gods and goddesses, or the spirits have more physical effects in your life. And that is another reason why you give offerings. You are giving them energy. And you're giving them physical energy, whatever that physical object is, whatever that food offering is, or drink offering is, or whatever flower object, whatever it is that you're giving to them, is a physical thing, and it has energy in it. And when you're giving it to these deities who are invisible, who are in the spiritual realm, and you're giving them physical energy, you're giving them a way or a vehicle to use that energy in the physical world, in the physical realm. So you will notice more physical effects that this deity is doing for you or doing around you, because you're giving them that physical energy to use and manipulate. So that is essentially the main reason why you would want to give offerings to a deity, so that they can then use that energy to then interact with you physically. So it's like that's why I call it like a relationship, because it's like you're putting out an effort and you're giving them energy, and then they, in exchange, put out effort for you on your behalf and use the energy that you've given them, or some of it at least, to have effects for you and to do things for you on your behalf. So this is just a short video, you guys. I just wanted to talk about those things, about deities and offerings. So really just to better explain to the people who are asking me about that. But I figured it would be helpful to all of you to just kind of get this understanding of it. So I'll be right back with more topics. Yeah, okay. Hail to the witches, you guys, and blessed be.